Hey guys, it's your guy Rock Mitchell. I'm back with another episode of Social Advice Podcast where it don't take that long to get right. I'm excited today. Today's guest he's one of them ones, y'all. He's one of those ones. And the reason I say that is because wisdom is a real thing for me. Wisdom and reading books and communicating efficiently, effectively, and creatively is really big for me. So he is, of course, probably one of my top 5 creators on social media. He is probably one of my top 5 public speakers, motivational speakers. He is an incredible preacher. He is a great leader. He's an all-around man's man. And I've known him for some time now. And I'm super excited to welcome my brother, Josh Bair. So I invited you here, bro, because I've kind of seen the just like your process, and like I think you call it the dig. Like I've seen you as Josh just being one of the guys in the city to like Josh being a preacher, of course, but like stepping outside of the confines of what people expect you to be, and really like becoming a national voice. And I think that's like so cool, because there's not a lot of people that you meet who can do something outside of church, who come from church. Like they're equipped to work in church. They are not equipped to talk to regular people. Right. They are not equipped to make music for regular people. They are only equipped to work inside of a church structure, a box. And I know that because of the work that I do and the people that I tap in with and the things that I produce, it breeds a different subset of people. But then like to see somebody like you who was like, well, yeah, there's preaching, but there's also, I'm gonna talk to these women, I'm gonna talk to these men, I'm gonna talk to these young people, I'm gonna give people what they need. So with all that being like the backdrop, I want you to walk us through like your origin story just a little bit.
Well, first and foremost, man,
First of all, track jacket is incredible.
Man, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Jordan. There are not a lot of people, like you said, that get ministry and marketplace. And so I think you have done a phenomenal job. You're leading the way in this space. So, name is Josh Bair. At the age of 7, I was labeled ADD, ADHD, dyslexic. I spent more time in ISS than in the classroom. I was held back 1st, 3rd, and 5th grade. And as a result of that, I couldn't read till I was 23 years old. I was labeled as the bad preacher's kid, stupid, dumb, irrelevant, class clown. I was labeled. And from the age of 7 to about the age of 19, I lived to the label. A label is just a lie that limits you from your God-given potential. Just because they have eyes does not mean that they have vision. One day I'm sitting in the church and my dad says, y'all need to learn to rip the label off. Click. Everything changed for me. Gave my life to Christ, got saved. For real this time.
What kind of save did you get though?
The first time I got saved, I was in my mother's car. She was just like, do you want to? I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I'll never forget it. Honda Civic, had to be a 95. Baby blue, sky blue. Sitting in the back, my sister was in the front, my mom was driving. She was like, you want to save? I gave my life to Christ then. And that really didn't do much.
But the fact that you remember that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know how many people get their life to Christ like every Sunday and don't remember?
Yeah, for sure. So like, I just remember my mother always kind of being that staple for me. Preacher's kid, the stories are all the song. Dad on the road, Moritas in the house, So I was labeled at that age of 7, and from 7 to about 19, 20, I kind of lived to that label. Now, I had some success in high school because I was an athlete, All-American, all that kind of stuff, and got saved and tried to go to school, but because I couldn't read, I failed out of HCC, was supposed to go to University of Maryland. My sister went to my sister worked in admissions at University of Maryland. It was a no-brainer. It was like, okay, you didn't get the scholarship because you didn't have the grades to do the track stuff, all of that. You can go to University of Maryland. Spring semester, I couldn't get, because I was supposed to get in the spring, I couldn't get into University of Maryland because I failed out of HCC.
How do you get to 23 through Baltimore, the Howard County school system?
Well, yeah.
How do you get through that? And can't read. Oh, you a good actor?
No, it wasn't a matter of acting. It was I was a good athlete, and so like that athletic thing kind of was pushed, and then like I guess people like me, teachers like me. Okay, let's keep on, and I think that's what happens in our city.
Was it like surprising that, oh, I passed this?
Yeah, it was always like, okay, time to perform on the court or on the field or on the track. Yeah, it was the track. So yeah, so I did that, and then failed out at HCC. I said I'm gonna give it one more shot. I enrolled into a school called Corcoran School of Art and Design in DC, in Foggy Bottom. That's the area it was in. I get in there, taking pictures off my iPhone. I just sent a portfolio, all these pictures off my iPhone. Now I edited it, but they look good enough. They let me in. George Washington buys Corcoran. I graduate from George Washington with interior design.
So girl, I said that's like me set up.
Yes.
So your background now is in interior design,
interior architect, art and design. So, you know, I'm excited about that, and God's like, okay, you did that, great, congrats. I don't want you to build buildings. I want you to build people.
So essentially, you become an architect, but God is like, yeah, that's a sidebar to what I want you to do.
No, I become I architect people's lives now.
No, but and that's what I'm saying. Like, but that's the weird thing. Like, he took you through a technical training for a completely different thing, so you understand what building looks like.
But the principles are all transferable. The principles are. You won't believe how close the principles and how you can use the principles in either space.
I had Sheldon on yesterday. Our friend Sheldon, a mutual friend that you introduced me to. Thank you. And
great guy.
Yeah, Sheldon's great. And he dropped so many gems yesterday. But one of the things that I kind of stated is that, and we were talking to creatives on that podcast, and what I said to him was, whatever it is that you learned in your life, whatever road it is that you traversed in your life, those lessons are all transferable to your creative process. And if you do not take advantage of that, you will be cookie cutter and like everybody else. People, you have to create through the lens of your experience. That's why we love Basquiat so much. Or, Jean-Michel, whatever like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we love him, because when we look at him, we see the raw. We look at him, we see his background in, painting on trains, that whole thing. And so what you just said, being able to transfer the lessons learned in architecture to building people's lives is like, how long did it take you to put that correlation together?
When I got to Corcoran, I knew that I wanted to go to seminary after I got to Corcoran. And I knew that I wanted to make my dissertation about how the connection between interior architecture and how God changes the inside before it ever changes the outside. It was supposed to be about that. And so that's kind of where my dissertation is now, actually. So
yeah, it's cool. Josh, boy.
I actually, funny story before you get, I actually posted it on my story the other day on IG. I had on the seminary sweater that I was wearing while I was at GW. And I was doing all this stuff, and I was just like, my dad worked at the seminary that I go to now. And so I just didn't know that was going to happen. And just when I looked at it, the plans of God are not, we can't comprehend them. We can't even see them. And so
all things work together.
It's definitely all things work together for our good. So, yeah.
So let's fast forward just a little bit, because you become like this viral, motivational wisdom success story. And I'm not going to say it's overnight, because I think when you look at certain people, you can see what they have the capacity to do and what they don't have the capacity to do. And I think you are one of those people who have the capacity to do anything. Like, you could have the capacity to go to the league. You got the capacity to pastor a church. You got the capacity to be just a New York Times bestselling author. Like, it feels like it's unfair with the amount of talent that you had. So how did you land on, I'm going to set this camera up and I'm about to give y'all these gems and turn it into we have over 250,000 followers across all platforms, right?
Something like that. And so, yeah, it wasn't my idea. Like, it was somebody on my team at that time. I was running a youth and young adult ministry called Recoded Ministry.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and so Recoded was kind of like bubbling. Like, I remember I saw one kid, and then 2 years later, I had 300 kids. I was taking 200 kids to New York.
To that conference, right? It was a conference?
Yeah, it was called Winterfest.
Okay.
And then I ended up speaking on the stage that I started taking kids to. Crazy story. And so I was like, hey, what are we going to do in the pandemic to keep our young people engaged? All right, I'll do a devotion. We got the church didn't have cameras. So I just had to learn. I was just like, you know what? Matter of fact, what I used to do, I used to record, get the file, send the file to somebody else. They used to edit it and they send it back to me. I was like, you know what? This is taking too long. And then one day I was just like, no, I'm just going to record and just talk about what I want to talk about. And the first time I remember, it was like a poetry type of thing. I was like, yeah, that's too poetic. It did well. I was like, okay, this could be a thing. Just kept doing it, kept getting better at it, and kept speaking. Found my voice.
Were you recording every day?
Like 3 times. At this time, back then, this was like 3-4 times a week. I mean, it was the pandemic. It was nothing else to do but record, get in front of a camera, and just try. And just try. And that's all I was doing. And through that, I'm in school. I'm going through my own transformation. I'm finding my voice. I'm finding out who I really am, the frequency that I speak in, what are the pain points that I speak to. But you can't figure out your audience until you know who you are. And so I had to do a lot of digging. I had to dig through some dirt.
What are you finding as you're digging?
Some truths and some untruths about myself, which is why the other story is so connected. That these labels, they were still there that I thought. And I do this deep dig about, what does it mean to be smart? What does it mean to be intelligent? What is it your ability to galvanize and retain information quickly? Is that really intelligence, or is that knowledge? I mean, I'm going through all of these thoughts. I'm going through all of this. I'm going through, what does it mean to deal with rejection? What does it mean to deal with imposter syndrome? What does it mean to deal with periodic depression that you don't know is depression, but you're kind of labeling it as laziness? No, It's all of these things. I'm finding out all of these things, and then I'm doing all of these dives around scripture. That's my frame of reference, and that's my point of reference. And so all of these things start to come up, and I'm finding out all of these things that I don't like, and I kind of do like, but majority of it is like, you're not as serious as you think you are. You're not as hungry as you say you are. You're not as focused as you say you are. And out of that, I find a coach. I find a coach to mentor me. I pay money because there's no major advancement without a major investment. The best investment you'll ever make is the investment you make in yourself. And so I start making these investments. I start paying money that I don't have to get knowledge that I never had. And from there.
How'd you find your coach?
I have a lot of them. The first one, IG. The first one was IG. And I just kept looking. I was like, that program's not there. Are y'all going to do a program? I just kept on asking and asking and asking and asking and asking.
So, and that's funny to me because oftentimes, and I deal with this when it comes to mentoring folks, is they always hit me with, well, Rock, I can't do that because I don't know everything yet. And I don't want to feel like a know-it-all. And I said, that sounds like a you problem. Because there is, and Sheldon and I talked about this on the last podcast, is that unless you are giving to the people behind you, it makes it very, very heavy for you to continue to climb unless you can take some of the weight of what you already know off. And so I don't think we phrase it like that. I think that's revelation that comes from me sitting with you. But I say all that to say, what do you say to the person that says, I ain't got all the money I want to have. I'm not the best in business. I'm not the prettiest person in the world, but I feel compelled to share and do and make content and become this other version of myself. But then they kind of deal with like the imposter syndrome.
You know what's so interesting about imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is a word that is used a lot, but I really don't think a lot of people understand like what it is. It is the insecurity of a person who of the high achiever. So to be an imposter, you already have to be achieving at a certain level. Like you already have to be scaling. You already have to learn how to master scaling. You've already had to like put your 10,000 hours. You already have to be him. You already got
enough about this to look like the real
look like people who are beneath you, or not beneath you, who are not as advanced as you.
Aspire.
You get into the room with the people who are doing what you do. It brings out the insecurity in you. That's really what imposter syndrome is. So for people who want to start, who don't feel like they're enough, who don't have the money, you're in the perfect place to start. That you're in what we would call the genesis or the infancy stages of greatness. Like that's where you are. Like you're not going to have the resources. You're not going to have the connections. Nobody's going to pay attention to somebody that is not already producing high value. I think I was talking about this on my podcast yesterday.
Shout out the podcast.
Transform You. You can change your thinking. You can change your life.
What can they listen to?
On all platforms. You can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, and Google Play, I think. Yeah, but it's on all platforms.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's George Bair is doing it big.
Yeah, but the point is, your value doesn't come. It doesn't come without a process. Value does not come without a process, and so, but vision starts before your value is ever seen. I was talking yesterday, Tom Brady, greatest quarterback of all time, arguably one of the greatest athletes of all time, for sure. What is that? Seven rings, multiple MVPs, a laundry list of accolades. What you see him do on the field is a result of what you didn't see him do on the field. So the ability to throw the ball into spots where the receiver isn't and anticipate that the receiver will be where the ball is, that was a result of work that he put in when he was the third string quarterback at Michigan.
Yeah.
When he was the 99th pick in the NFL draft, when he was the backup to Drew Brees. And we think that the opportunity, bro, is not going to come because you haven't perfected your gift. There's a lot of people that get opportunities that haven't perfected their gift.
Yeah.
The problem is not with the opportunity. You're going to get an opportunity. You just might not get another one if you're not good. So it behooves you to go through the process, develop the skills when the light is not on you. So when you get into the spotlight, it doesn't change.
So that's like, I think about how when we talk about imposter syndrome, we're really talking about having an opportunity to determine whether or not you're good enough, right? Because I find myself in a lot of crazy rooms trying to figure out how in the world did I get in here, right? And then not do I find myself just in the room, I find myself in the room and the questions being posed to me about what I think. And I'm like, why are we asking me this? But I think that when you have, and I'll take this to the more spiritual side, when you have anointing on you, I think people can see it. And I'm not talking about people who are in church. I'm talking about people who are working in secular, have billion-dollar companies. They know when someone is anointed. They don't see it as anointing. They see it as this person is super skilled, super gifted. They have the it factor. Yeah. And you still struggle with don't ask me, I don't know. And so there is a level of, and I recommend this for everybody, there's a level of arrogance that you have to have around your ability so that you do not offend the room that you're in, because you are so soft-spoken, you are so overtaken by the opportunity that you don't live up to that moment. And let me preface that with let me back that up with this. When I was first starting out in my creative journey and just like getting opportunities, I would see opportunities go and not come back because I was too humble about my ability. But then I would do the work and it'd be like, yo, why didn't you, like, if you were going to do this, you should have said something in the room. Like, this is crazy. And so then I learned that, what I'm saying out of my mouth has to match my output. Because if not, I won't get the opportunity if it's all based on what I say.
Wow, that's powerful.
Wow. And some people take it as arrogance, but people who know, if I'm gonna pay you $100,000 to go do a job, I want to know that you can do that job.
I'm getting my money's worth.
I need my money's worth. And so talk to us about your journey, how you are translating this process you're in now into where you're going. Like, and I know it's more than social media for you, I know that, but like this journey that you are becoming this public speaker and becoming this, just like this guy that people are saying, wow, this guy has the goods. How is that translating? How is that helping your next level?
Well, I always said I wanted to just be solid. I want to be a solid communicator, clear communicator, a concise communicator. So at the end of the day, I communicate. That's the skill that I have, that I bring to the world. That's one of the gifts, but that's how you usually see the gift in me. I'm gifted to communicate. And so I say all of that to say, when I heard you say like the humility piece, I was thinking like, no, I've never said this before, not publicly.
Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen.
But that whole humility piece irritates me. Be humble. Somebody would probably fact check what I'm about to say, and I'm cool with that. But everywhere that I've seen in scripture that talks about humility, it's humility unto God, not humility unto people. And so meekness is not humility. Meekness is to people. The meek shall inherit the earth. That's a relational frequency. Meekness is. It's a gentleness. It's a warmness.
I can get along with people.
We can disagree and be disagreeable. I can be disagreeable. It's that. It's humbleness is a low. It's lowering who you are.
A posture.
That's what it is. It's a posture. And so I'm not sure if we should be posturing ourselves. I'm not sure if the person who wants to become something on their own, in a sense, or wants to elevate their life should be posturing themselves like that, because what does it say to the person that wants to posture themselves over you? That they can dominate you.
Oh, that's so good, Judge. That's so good.
I don't want, no. And so I tell her to say that my process has been a process of self-discovery, self-discipline, but moreover, it's a process that has developed my competence. Competence is the breeding ground for confidence. When I'm competent on something, when I'm subject expertise on what I'm doing,
It's me.
then I can authentically move in that space with a level of authority, conviction.
But that's going through the process in those 10,000 hours.
Yeah, exact. Yes, absolutely. I'm going through that process. And so my process is I had to learn how to do the cameras. I had to learn how to do the editing. I had to learn, but moreover, I had to learn how to speak in a way that could touch the three, what I call the 3 H's, or what my coach calls the 3 H's, the head, heart, and hand. A lot of people touch you here. That's logically, intellectually. Some people, when they speak or when you come around them, you can feel them in your heart. But a lot of people in my space, after you've heard them speak, whether it's a sermon or whether it's a keynote or whether it's whatever it may be, a presentation, they don't give you anything in your hand. And the hand is the tangible thing that teaches what you just heard, what you just felt, this is what you do next. And so I think my success is that I take what is spiritual or esoteric, I take the cerebral and I make it really practical. And so when you talked about favor or anointing, in the secular world, they don't see it as favor or anointing. They see it as energy. The energy he brings or she brings to this space it's incredible. Wow.
Right.
So an effective communicator would be able to say what I just said. It's being able to take something that is not that something that was foreign and making it really palatable for another demographic or audience.
Yeah.
And so when I speak in front of corporation, when I speak in front of students, I can't talk about spirituality. So I have to change the language without using the essence of my conviction, because it's in that conviction that you can feel the power. And it's not my power, it's his power.
Right.
So it's God's power. So it's that kind of thing. So what I'm learning in this process is, I don't know what the end is.
But you talked about it prior to we started. We had like a good 5-minute talk, and you talked about how you were talking to a mentor, and that mentor was talking like you say a lot of good things. Tried and true. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I was talking to not really a mentor. That's strong.
Or a friend, or
a friend, wannabe big brother figure. You know, all that big brother.
Wannabe. What's their name?
Absolutely,
that's crazy.
It's not. It's not. I wouldn't be that. No, it's not because I wouldn't. It's just like,
right.
No.
That is just really messy, is what it is.
No. It's not messy. It's just like, no. Basically, he looked at me one day. He was like, man, you have a great gift of communication. You can speak, you preach, you can talk, you can do all of these things. And this was earlier on, 2002, 2001, maybe 2002, 2021, 2022. Pandemic. Great gift, but you don't really have there's no conviction in what you're saying. Like, I don't feel what you're saying, but I can see the talent. I can see the gift. And so he was basically saying, like, you talk good, you got a great gift, but your gift hasn't gone through a process of a process that really brings about this, I keep saying this C word, conviction, that makes you really confident in what you're saying. And I went in. So many people, when they hear words like this, they go externally. I went internal. And when I went in the inside, I started to discover who I am. You know, this whole piece about rip the label, that rip the label off. Label is just a lie that limits you from your God-given gift and potential. Just because they have eyes does not mean that they have vision. And so that comes from me going back to and thinking about, why do I think the way I think? there were so many people who mislabeled me because they couldn't see me. And so now what we would call that is a project. A project is something that is in your personal toolkit that tells your story. So my project is to live beyond the label. And so I'm trying to help people live beyond the labels that have been spoken over them, because words are one of the most powerful things on the planet. You know, the Bible says that life and death is in the power of the tongue. You have the power to speak your future or speak your funeral.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that serious. So labels, I lived to the label. I lived to the lie. And it wasn't until I went internally and I really saw, like, why I think the way that I think, I was able to kind of rip it off and take it off and kind of speak more deeply and more profoundly to the audience that listens to me. So that's what a project is. Another project is, what does it mean to live between two great men? That's one of my other projects. A lot of people would say that I'm blessed because I have two father figures, my biological father, who was in my life, and my father-in-law, or what we call his father-in-law. And they're both successful within the industry of church, and they have great churches. And, you know, my father-in-law is a legend in this town. And so a lot of people would think, man, you just blessed. You got it made.
Right.
And it comes with a pressure. It comes with it pressure, not just from the internal, but like, not just from the people, but from inside. Like, I got to live to this. And you know, not until you rip the label off that you can understand, like, yo, that what it means to live between great men, it might be to really learn your authenticity.
Yeah.
It, like, really be authentic so that you don't get compared between either. Like, no, he is his own person. And so for me, living between two great men allowed me to create my own path. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of people wouldn't create their own path because they would hold on to the legacy.
Well, yeah, and they find themselves and I'm not saying this in the capacity of serving. I'm saying this in the capacity of, one of the things that I hate the most is a clout chaser.
Yeah,
people who want the limelight or the association for the sake of the limelight and association but bring no value is one of the biggest things that I am diametrically opposed to.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've seen you stand on your own too. When you could easily be promoting or pushing that I'm this person's son. Invite me, have me, or I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to do that in the name of your father or your father-in-law. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talk to us about Josh finding his own identity and purposely separating himself, not disrespectfully, but intentionally separating himself from being identified as that person's bag carrier or that person's, you know, you feel what I'm saying? Because you could be, if you took the traditional route, you could be that.
Yeah. What an unfortunate life for somebody to want to be exactly like somebody else. I think the first part, Robert Greene's book of Mastery, he says that the first stage of greatness, of mastery, of self-mastery, is finding the apprentice, right? And so I got my time with my dad. I got my time with my dad and my father-in-law. I got my time with them. But the same kid that was labeled as 7 is the same man I am today.
Mm-hmm.
I was a renegade then. I'm a renegade today. I had that dog in me then. I got that dog in me now. You could call it the athletic part of me, the athlete in me. I just never wanted another man to make a way for me. And so a lot of invitations didn't come because of my association with my father.
It came because of your ability.
I wanted it. I put the time in. I got not really good. I got better. And so a lot of the invitations came from me really building something. Like, no, let me say something. Nobody is going to respect you until you make them pay attention to you. That's like, if you're waiting for somebody to invite you to their table, that means you will always be a casualty. You will be a relational casualty, because once you can't do for them what they ask you to do, you become replaceable. I never want to be replaced. You can't replace me at my table. You cannot replace me at my table. I built my table.
And I think so many people are trying to add so much value that they start looking for a response to their value add, and when it don't come, it breaks them.
Right, because bro, that's exactly what it is. Because it's like your value, you are waiting for somebody to validate you. You don't recognize your value because you don't know you yet. And it's not until you know you that you know what you bring. And when you know what you bring, then you can walk in that confidence because you have the experience and you've been through the mud, you've been through the fire, you've been through the flood. I mean, you've been through the test of time. Like, yo, this was where I used to be and this is where I am. And like, yo, when I look at the difference between when you met me and the person I am now, like we just said before we even started this book, you was like, I saw it on you. But what you did say is you needed me to see it on me. That's not what you said, but that's what you said.
Yeah.
And I had to go inward and really put the time in. Like I had to really.
Well, that's frustrating to me, Josh. It is, because one of my giftings is being able to see where people can go and what they can do.
But that's what it means to be a visionary, right? And so that's the gift and the curse, because every gift has a backside of the giftedness, right? So we see this, we love this, but you don't see how many times you've spoken into people's lives or seen stuff that other people couldn't see. It's Joshua and Caleb. It's being able to see what God said when people can't, when other people are just focused on giants. He never said, look at the giants.
He did.
See survey the land, if the land is filled with milk and honey, AKA if it is productive and can produce. Is the ground fertile? You're supposed to be looking at the ground and you're looking at giants. Your gaze is wrong.
You're unfocused. And that's what happens to people who allow other people's validation and accreditation determine how they move, when they move, whether or not they get the opportunity, because they're focused on the right things. Like, and for me, it's easy for me to fall into that trap. You want to know why? Because I'm in a service-based thing where I have to live by a result. I have to live by what I do for this person that they've paid me all this money for. It has to produce an outcome for them. If it doesn't produce an outcome for them, then the value of what I provided is not there, and I can no longer go down the road saying it's worth this, right? But what I also realized is that, me and Sheldon talking about this, if I give you diamonds and you show people the diamonds in a plastic bag and not on a ring, that ain't my fault that you don't understand the value of these diamonds, right? And I think that's what a lot of people do. They want to add value, but the people they're adding value to don't even know how to facilitate the value that you're adding, and you're judging yourself off of that. It don't work like that.
Yo, that's such a powerful thing, because you talk about the diamond in the back, right? So the diamond is the essence of what we want, is the essence of who we are. But the thing that's covering it is tacky. Yeah. Virgil said it like this though. He said, yo, if I show you this cup, we've all seen it. We've seen it. He said, if I show you this cup, now it was a can, and I put it on the street, somebody gonna step on it. Now, if I put the cup in an art studio, now the environment dictates the value. And so if you're not in the right environment, you'll miss a moment. And so who you're connected to is really important. And so you're talking about like being able to see people for who they are. And, you're in the service business, me too, but I want to go a step further, because it's just the way I think. I think anybody who is a creative, who wants to step into entrepreneurship, that's the essence of what we do. if you're not good, you won't get paid. You will be hungry. Your price is predicated on your ability to go through seasons of pain. And how you turn that pain is how powerful you will be. When you become a catalyst for growth, then people will be attracted to you. It's called an anointing.
Yeah.
But people in any market will call it energy that you bring. Just that energy that you got. It's something about you.
I've been through this. And if you look at most great artists, if you look at a lot of great musicians and people like that, a lot of them die early. A lot of them are strung out on drugs.
Lord, please. That's not my wish.
That's not my wish either. But I think what we creatives, we struggle with that we don't get a good grip on is how to manage our emotions. And secretly, a lot of creatives struggle with anxiety and depression, and because they are fixed between two positions, right? And there's this dichotomy, there's this warring, if you will, and you actually need that warring to produce, because without that warring, your stuff just looks like everybody else. You know, and I think when I look at you and what you become, I think it's taken a lot for you to get to the point where you say, you know what, I'm gonna give y'all this. And it's working, bro. Like, it's working. Like, I looked up probably, I don't know when it happened, but I remember when you first started doing like consistent content and you were growing and it was good, but it wasn't what it is now. And I think you might have been at like 12, 15,000 followers. And then I don't know where it's like, oh, Josh at 25. Like, and then it was just like, he got 100,000 every. And I want you to talk about this through the lens of encouragement to the person that is creating, but no one's listening. And I want you to say more to me than consistency, John.
So this is the challenge for the creative. And this is why I told you my story, y'all. Like, ADHD, dyslexia, ADD.
Y'all hear that? One more time.
ADHD, dyslexia, ADD.
And didn't know how to read until you was 23.
Till I was 23, self-taught. For real. Like, was reading kids' books. Like, hard, painful. This is embarrassing. Remember being in church, they asked me to read scripture one time.
I know you could have went through the floor.
I read that book. I read that verse all week leading up into that moment because I was trying to memorize it so I didn't have to read. That's painful because the word, it would remind me of I'm gonna get to the point. It would remind me of popcorn reading in school. That's
right.
Go like it wasn't that, but it was that, and so I just didn't ever want to rehearse that. So I say all of that to say, when you are extremely gifted, you come with challenges, and if you don't dig, if you don't get to know you, you won't know your weaknesses. The weakness of the creative is procrastination. Yeah, that's the weakness, because when you're highly gifted, what takes people a week to do, you can do in 48 hours. What takes somebody 48 hours to do, you can do in 3 hours. What takes somebody 3 hours to do, you can do in 10 minutes. That's the gift. That's the dichotomy. That's the tension of being gifted in any space. So the challenge is, are you going to go through life and just be a highly gifted person? God forbid, no. You're not watching somebody who's gifted. You're watching somebody who's highly disciplined. So I know a lot of people don't like this, but this is the coaching that I give. I give to people who ask for coaching from me, which I'm a high performance coach. So I teach people how to perform at a high level. You got to get real serious about scheduling the intricate details of your life, not just the performative things in your life. Like, what time are you going to wake up in the morning? What time are you going to, because this is what the creative needs to understand. This is high performance coaching, bro. Nobody has to teach you to get up in the morning to take a shower. Nobody has to tell you to get up in the morning and make your bed, I hope. Nobody has to tell you to get up in the morning to brush your teeth. What we would call that in the coaching space is automation.
Yep.
That's automation. That means you've been doing it for so long, it's an automatic response. That was taught, which means you can be taught to schedule. If you're doing content creation, you can be taught what a day looks like of writing. That means you need to put the hours in of how to write in
production,
how to write a thought in your voice, not through ChatGPT.
Right.
Because that's not your voice. You don't talk like ChatGPT. It doesn't matter what role you make it assume. You don't talk like that.
Right. No matter what the prompt is.
Whatever, don't matter. You don't talk like that, bro. You don't talk like that. So you got to put in the hours. So what you're seeing is, you're seeing somebody who has structured their life. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. The first 30 minutes is a devotion. I'm at the gym at 6. I'm at the gym from 5:30 to 6, and the list goes on and on and on. I brush I'm back at the house. I pick my kids up. I'm making sure they get to school on time. I'm back in the office at this. I'm doing this. This is just Monday. So Monday may be record day. It's not for me, but Tuesday is homework day. I'm in seminary. So my days are really detailed, and the devil is in the details.
And most people who are hyper successful, or even on the road to being hyper successful, are super focused. Let me give you this. I like to make sure that I give everybody practical tips and tools and things that I use that I think are super dope. I found out that even working with certain organizations, if you don't send me an invite, it don't exist for me. Mm-hmm. If it's not on my calendar, it does not exist for me. Because someone will put something on my calendar, and whatever you assumed that I would be at that you didn't send me an invite for is going to get bumped, right? And so I use something also called Timo, Tiimo.
Okay.
And it is the best scheduling calendar app for me, because if I say that I'm going to do pre-production, it'll use AI to give me 6 or 7 elements of that pre-production and time block it out. So if I say pre-production for me shooting my podcast,
nice,
it'll then say, okay, 10 minutes of researching ideas, 45 minutes of writing, 30 minutes of rehearsal. Like, it'll give me all that, and I only have to think about it.
Right.
And so my 2-hour block of pre-production has already been time blocked. So I use a lot of time block.
So what you're saying, because you're talking about like really practical things for the audience and the listener to hear. So what you're saying is, like, you live in what I would call is habits, rituals, and routines.
I do.
And so this is why it's so important. I know sometimes people are like, man, that's the boring stuff. Like, I just want to talk about
that's the fun stuff for me, though.
But you got to make it the fun thing. When problems are better solved when they're looked at as challenges. Like, they're better solved when they look at it as a challenge. And so, like, people are like, yo, why do you have this habitual routine? Because life is not routine. Life is up and down.
Ebbs and flows,
right? And so, like, what a routine does, no matter if it's up or if it's down, you're doing the same thing. And life is not always going to be a highlight reel. Sometimes it's a nightmare. But if you have the habits, the rituals, and routines of, I get up at this time, I do this, you can still keep making progress. That's why so many creators fall into depression and anxiety, because they have not scheduled their life. Because, yo, you're already hypersensitive,
right?
Because you're creative. Be real.
For sure.
You are already hypersensitive, because that's how your gift works. It works off of feeling and the vibe. And the frequency gotta be right.
Yeah.
But when you step up in your maturity, you understand, like, yo, I can't wait for my feelings to catch up for me to create. I gotta be able to create.
I gotta have a system for creating. Like, and what I learned between the difference between a creator of my ilk at 39 and a creator that's 22 or 24 or even 18. My son is a creator. My youngest son is a creator. He's a photographer, a videographer. You know,
He's dope.
At 12 years old, he's dope.
Dope.
At 12, he's dope.
Mm.
At 12, he has access to everything I have and can use it.
Yep.
I forgot that they off for school today. I forgot to hit send on something on a project before I left the house office. I called him. He said, "I got you, Dad," and went downstairs and finished my project and sent it. So what I'm saying all this is to say, unless you have a system, and that's the difference between someone who's here and someone's here.
The good and the great.
I got a system. I have a system by which I operate from, and I also have grown-up tools from which I operate from. So there's a difference between good and great, and 9 times out of 10, it's the tools that the person uses. Like, the same protractor that I use in high school is not the same protractor that you use when you are doing architecture.
God forbid.
That thing would be lopsided, brother.
And that's a great point that you're making, because, like, we talked about the way that you eat, the way that you, like, the way that you create. Like, so many of us in our culture are in the quick, fast, in a hurry game that, like, we don't know that what we're creating is, like, actually, like, creating, like, it's almost like malnourished. It's like not fully developed. It's not a fully developed thought. It's not a fully developed idea. It's not, and nobody wants to pay for a halfway idea, or nobody's willing to, in this economy, nobody's willing to.
It wasn't fully thought out.
It's not fully thought out. Like you you're just not there. And I think that that's important, because opportunities are going to come, and when they come, they will stop unless it's like really what you're doing is like really detrimental. But what I'm learning is get ready so you don't have to be ready so you don't have to get ready. Like, just always be on point. Like, I'll share a real story with you. I speak in South Carolina New Year's, three times, a 9, 11, and a 12 and 11 p.m. all day. I didn't have my paperwork in my contract set up. So when I got there, I did my work to the best of my ability, and I left. I felt good about what I did, but I didn't feel good about what I was compensated, because I did not have what I needed to have set up. So it's not just about the structure is not just to create. The structure is for you to be compensated.
And that's why most people cannot live as creatives. They'll try to be a creative for 6 months, or I'm gonna be a photographer, I'm gonna be a videographer, because they don't have the systems in place by which to even explain why it is having me show up to even talk to you is $7,000. They can't explain that.
Yeah, they can't explain.
They can't explain
their value.
They don't know their value prop. They don't know it, and they can't. And we're going to close here shortly, and we're going to have to do this again.
I'm grateful.
Because this is really good. But I say all that to say, Josh, you have done an amazing thing. You're launching new things. Books are coming. You already have books out. I want you to give us a rundown of everything you got going on so people can tap in with you, how they can get in touch, how they can follow you, all it. Like, don't leave nothing. Whatever is public, I want you to put it out so people can see and they don't have to guess about what JB got going on.
Okay, so again, this is a super dope conversation. You can follow me on @JoshBair.com. At Josh Bair. That's JOSH.
2 H's.
Yeah, 2 H's because my middle name is H. My real name is Joshua Hugh Bair. And so it's Josh H. Bair, Bair, on all social media platforms. If you go on my website, which is the same, Josh Bair, you can download my free 3-day devotional, which is a part of a bigger devotional called Reimagine, out of Romans 12:2. If you be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so that devotion was really birthed out of my almost transformation and becoming, in a sense, that I'm going to give you 30 days of how to reimagine your life and give you the steps on how to do it. So day 1, you need to learn how to rethink. What does it mean to rethink? What does it mean to reimagine? What does it mean to rewrite because you can't rethink if you don't write it down. Write the vision, make it plain so those who see it can run with it. I like to say vision is not clear. If it's not on paper, it doesn't exist. No, it doesn't. But it's this whole twofold thing. It has to, you have to write it down so you can read how much it makes sense and how much it doesn't make sense. So you can get crystal clear on where you're trying to go. When the target is defined, direction will appear. One more time, John. When a target is defined, direction will appear. People who aim at nothing hit everything. No, they don't hit nothing. They hit everything because you're not trying to get anywhere. So you're trying to be on the bike. You're trying to be on behind the scenes. You're trying to sell candles. You're trying to be you don't know where you're going. Be narrow focused. So Reimagine is about getting focused and helping and giving you sequential steps on how to get refocused. I got a book coming out in 2025 rather, called Beyond the Label, my personal story of how to rip stigmas that were placed on you. And it's kind of like a self-help book with spiritual principles. All of my stuff is going to be spiritual principles and self-help. And it kind of teaches you how to rip those labels off, those stigmas. Then I have something coming at the bottom of this month called Limitless Nights, which is still out of the rip the labels, not becoming.
What's the date on that?
October the 22nd. That's going to be like a place where kingdom meets culture, the sacred meets the secular. And it's going to be a night of live music and an inspirational message of hope, networking, fellowship, community, mixer.
Your boy's going to be there. I'm going to be there. So pull up.
Yeah. So if you are looking for a place that's safe, that's outside the box, outside the box of what we know as what we would have known as church, it's that. It's a vibe. It's you don't got to be saved. You don't got to believe in God. You don't actually have to believe in anything that I believe in. I just know that when I get to talking about you and get to talking about what I see on you and the potential that's in you, potential has to be in an environment that can be incubated.
Yeah.
And so if you're in a room or at a table or in an environment that speaks to what's inside of you, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It's a matter of when for you. And so Limitless Nights is a once a month type of thing. October the 22nd, it's going to be dope. It's going to be lit, man. Pull up, man. It's going to be dope. Promise.
Man, I'm excited about everything you got going on, bro. I'm glad that you came and sat with your boy for a little bit. And we're going to do this again. And that's not cap. Like, I know you kind of control your schedule. At least your admin does. And so we're going to make sure that we do this again, finish this one up. Sheldon's already scheduled to be coming back as well.
Yeah.
So listen, a lot of great things are happening. I want you to tap in with my guy, Josh. This has been another episode of the Social Advice Podcast where it don't take that long to get right. It just don't. It don't. If you want to change your life, it don't take that long. It don't take all day. All right, you got rock. I'll see you, sir. Hey,